Every single day, over 20 million cigarettes are produced worldwide. That's not per month, not per week, per day. In the time it takes you to watch this video, factories across the globe will manufacture over 140 million cigarettes. But here's what's truly shocking. A single modern cigarette factory can produce up to 20,000 cigarettes per minute. That's 333 cigarettes every single second. The machines inside these facilities are so precise, so incredibly fast, that the human eye can barely follow what's happening. Today, we're going behind the locked doors of one of the world's most secretive industries. We'll explore how a simple tobacco leaf transforms into a perfectly wrapped cigarette, ready for store shelves. And stick around until the end, because I'll reveal the one ingredient in cigarettes that even shocked factory workers. Something that's been hidden in plain sight for decades. Let's dive in. I would appreciate it if you could pause the video, subscribe, and like it. Our journey begins thousands of miles from any factory, in vast tobacco fields stretching across countries like China, Brazil, India, and the United States. These aren't your typical farms. A single tobacco plantation can span thousands of acres, with plants growing up to 6 feet tall. Tobacco is an incredibly demanding crop. It requires exactly 120 days from planting to harvest, and the timing must be perfect. Harvest too early, and the nicotine content is too low. Wait too long, and the leaves become bitter and unusable. Workers harvest tobacco leaves by hand in most regions, carefully selecting leaves from different parts of the plant. Here's something fascinating. Leaves from the bottom of the tobacco plant have completely different characteristics than those from the top. Bottom leaves are lighter and milder, while top leaves are darker and contain more nicotine, up to 3 times more. Once harvested, these leaves undergo a crucial process called curing. There are several methods, but the most common is flue curing, where leaves are hung in large barns and heated for about a week. The temperature and humidity must be controlled with extreme precision. This is where tobacco develops its distinctive color, from green to golden yellow or deep brown. After curing, the tobacco is aged in warehouses for anywhere from several months to several years. Yes, just like fine wine, tobacco is aged. This aging process mellows the flavor and reduces harshness. Some premium cigarette brands use tobacco aged for up to 3 years, but the real transformation is just beginning. Welcome to the modern cigarette factory, a gleaming, highly automated facility that operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Security here is incredibly tight. Why? Because tobacco is valuable. We're talking about a commodity worth more per pound than many precious metals. The aged tobacco leaves arrive at the factory in massive bales, each weighing around 200 pounds. They're stored in climate-controlled warehouses where temperature and humidity are monitored constantly. Even a small fluctuation could ruin entire batches worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The first stop is the threshing department. Here, giant machines separate the tobacco leaf from the stem. The stems are too harsh for cigarettes, so they're removed and often sold separately for use in other tobacco products. What remains is pure leaf tobacco, which is then blended. Here's where it gets interesting. Cigarette tobacco is never from a single source. Manufacturers blend tobacco from dozens of different farms, sometimes from different countries. Why? Consistency. A Marlboro in Tokyo should taste exactly like a Marlboro in New York. To achieve this, tobacco blenders, yes, that's an actual job title, mix tobacco varieties in precise ratios. These master blenders have one of the most sensitive jobs in the industry. They're tasting and testing tobacco constantly, making microscopic adjustments to maintain that signature flavor profile. Some of these blenders have been doing this for over 30 years, and their palates are insured for millions of dollars. But we haven't even gotten to the really fascinating part yet. The machinery that's about to process this tobacco is unlike anything you've seen before. Now we enter the heart of the factory, the cigarette-making department. And trust me, what happens here is mind-blowing. The blended tobacco first passes through a machine that adds moisture and heat, making it pliable. Then it's shredded into fine strands, the perfect size for smoking. This shredding must be incredibly precise. Too coarse and the cigarette won't burn properly. Too fine and it burns too quickly. But here's something they don't advertise. Pure tobacco alone doesn't make a modern cigarette. Manufacturers add hundreds of ingredients at this stage. We're talking about humectants to keep the tobacco moist, flavor compounds, burn accelerants to keep the cigarette lit, and various other chemicals. In fact, a single cigarette can contain up to 600 different additives. Now the tobacco enters the cigarette-making machine, and this is where things get absolutely insane. These machines are 60 feet long and cost over $5 million each. They can produce up to 20,000 cigarettes per minute. That's fast enough to make a cigarette for every person in a small town in less than 5 minutes. Here's how it works. A continuous stream of tobacco is laid onto a moving paper belt. The paper comes from giant rolls, each containing enough paper to make over 300,000 cigarettes. As the tobacco-filled paper moves through the machine, it's shaped into a perfect cylinder, sealed with a tiny line of glue, and cut into individual cigarettes, all in a fraction of a second. But we're not done yet. Each cigarette then receives its filter. The filter material, usually cellulose acetate, which is essentially a form of plastic, is cut to exact length and attached to the cigarette with another paper wrapper. This happens so fast that if you blinked, you'd miss about 300 cigarettes being made. Quality control is constant. Cameras and sensors check every single cigarette. Weight, length, firmness, filter attachment, everything is measured. Any cigarette that doesn't meet exact specifications is automatically rejected. We're talking tolerances of less than a millimeter. At this point, you might think we're done, but here's where the process takes an unexpected turn, one that even surprised me when I first learned about it. The cigarettes are now moving to the packing department, traveling on conveyor belts at speeds of up to 30 feet per second. They're organized, counted, and prepared for packaging. Modern packing machines are works of art. They take 20 individual cigarettes, arrange them in perfect rows, wrap them in foil, insert them into a paper pack, wrap that pack in cellophane, and seal everything, all in less than 2 seconds per pack. The cardboard packs themselves are fascinating. They arrive at the factory as flat sheets and are folded into shape by machines. The printing on these packs must be absolutely perfect. Colors must match exactly, health warnings must be positioned correctly, and barcodes must scan properly. Then comes something most people never think about: the cellophane wrapper. That clear plastic wrap isn't just for show. It's a moisture barrier that keeps cigarettes fresh for months. Without it, cigarettes would dry out in weeks. 10 packs are then bundled into cartons, and cartons are packed into master cases. Every single pack is tracked with a serial number. Governments require this for tax purposes, and manufacturers use it to track their products through the entire supply chain. But here's what's really interesting. From the moment tobacco enters the factory to the moment a finished carton rolls off the production line, only 45 minutes have passed. That's it. 45 minutes to transform raw agricultural product into a finished consumer good. The factory we're in today produces approximately 200 million cigarettes every single day. That's enough cigarettes to give one to every person in France daily. Now, I promised you something shocking, and here it is. Remember those hundreds of additives I mentioned? Here's the one that surprises most people: sugar. That's right. Cigarette manufacturers add sugar to tobacco. In fact, some cigarettes contain up to 10% sugar by weight. Why? Sugar caramelizes when burned, creating a sweeter smoke that's less harsh and more addictive. But it gets more interesting. Cigarette paper isn't just paper, it's engineered paper. It contains specific chemicals that control burn rate. Some papers have tiny perforations you can't even see with the naked eye. These holes dilute the smoke when testing machines measure tar and nicotine levels, making the cigarettes appear safer in lab tests than they actually are when humans smoke them. And those filters? They're a triumph of marketing over function. While filters do remove some harmful substances, they've also allowed manufacturers to make cigarettes that deliver the same amount of nicotine with less tobacco. The result? Smokers inhale more deeply and more frequently to get their nicotine fix, potentially exposing themselves to even more harmful chemicals. The modern cigarette factory is a marvel of engineering and automation. These facilities represent billions of dollars in investment, employ thousands of people, and produce a product that's sold in virtually every country on Earth. The global cigarette industry generates over $800 billion in revenue annually. That's more than the GDP of many countries. A single major tobacco company can have profit margins exceeding 40%. making it one of the most profitable legal industries in the world. Now we enter the heart of the factory, the cigarette-making department, and trust me, what happens here is absolutely mind-blowing. If you've ever wondered how modern automation works at its peak, this is it. The blended tobacco first passes through a conditioning machine that adds moisture and heat, making it pliable and easier to work with. This isn't just spraying water on tobacco, it's a precisely controlled process where steam is injected to bring the moisture content to exactly 12 to 14%. Too dry and the tobacco crumbles. Too wet and the cigarettes won't burn properly. Then it's shredded into fine strands, the perfect size for smoking. This shredding must be incredibly precise. We're talking about cutting tobacco to strands that are 0.5 to 1 millimeter wide. Too coarse, and the cigarette won't burn evenly or draw properly. Too fine, and it burns too quickly and produces harsh smoke. Massive rotating blades slice through tons of tobacco per hour with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. But here's something they don't advertise. Pure tobacco alone doesn't make a modern cigarette. Not even close. Manufacturers add hundreds of ingredients at this stage, and this is where things get controversial. We're talking about humectants like glycerin and propylene glycol to keep the tobacco moist and prevent it from drying out in the pack. Flavor compounds to enhance taste, everything from cocoa and licorice to vanilla and fruit extracts. Burn accelerants to keep the cigarette lit between puffs. Ammonia compounds that alter the pH of the smoke, making nicotine more readily absorbed by the lungs, essentially making cigarettes more addictive. In fact, a single cigarette can contain up to 600 different additives. Yes, 600. And while tobacco companies are required to disclose these ingredients in many countries, they don't have to reveal the exact amounts or combinations. That's considered proprietary information. Some of these additives would surprise you. Cocoa is added to dilate airways, making smoke easier to inhale. Menthol numbs the throat, reducing harshness. Sugars caramelize when burned, creating a sweeter smoke. We'll come back to that sugar later because it's one of our big reveals. Now the prepared tobacco enters the cigarette-making machine, and this is where things get absolutely insane. These machines are technological marvels, 60 feet long, 12 feet high, and costing over $5 million each. A single factory might have 20 or 30 of these machines running simultaneously. The cigarettes are now moving to the packing department, traveling on conveyor belts at speeds of up to 30 feet per second. They're organized, counted, and prepared for packaging with a level of precision that rivals computer chip manufacturing. Modern packing machines are absolute works of art. They take 20 individual cigarettes, arrange them in perfect rows, wrap them in foil, insert them into a paper pack, wrap that pack in cellophane, and seal everything, all in less than 2 seconds per pack. Some of the newest machines can package up to 600 packs per minute. Let's break down what happens because it's honestly incredible. First, cigarettes are counted and arranged. They're typically packed in a 7-6-7 formation. That's 7 cigarettes in the front row, 6 in the middle, and 7 in the back. Why this arrangement? It provides the best stability and makes the pack feel full in your hand. The cigarettes are then wrapped in aluminum foil. This foil isn't just regular kitchen foil. It's a specially formulated barrier material that prevents moisture and air from affecting the tobacco. In many packs, this foil has a small tear strip built in for easy opening. The cardboard packs themselves are fascinating. They arrive at the factory as flat sheets, thousands of them stacked on pallets. These sheets are called blanks, and they're pre-printed with all the branding, health warnings, barcodes, and tax stamps. From a simple tobacco leaf growing in a field to a perfectly packaged cigarette on a store shelf, the journey takes months of growing and aging, but only minutes of manufacturing. Modern factories can produce enough cigarettes in one day to give nearly every adult on Earth a pack. The technology, precision, and scale of cigarette manufacturing is truly staggering. These factories operate with the efficiency of a Swiss watch and the output of a small city's worth of workers. What surprised you most about this process? Did you know about the sugar, the engineered paper, or just how fast these machines operate? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into industrial manufacturing, make sure to subscribe. Next week, we're going inside a facility that produces something even more controversial, And the manufacturing process is even more secretive than what we've seen today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.